so many women now I see, intermittent fasting is so popular and it's
Oh, yeah.
16 hours of not eating and 8 hours of eating. But that's not right for everyone.
No.
I actually did this 5-day mimicking fasting diet. That was like horrible for me. I was having such bad heart palpitations.
Yeah.
I know now it increased cortisol so much. But whenever you push yourself, let's say you're exercising at night and you're really exhausted, you'd rather rest. You're having too long of a fasting window because I see women who they're like, okay, I'm not losing weight with doing a 16-hour fast. Let's go to 18. Let's go to 20. Let's go down to the 1 meal a day. They call it OMAD, 1 meal a day. And they're still not really having results because you're increasing cortisol. So your body does need that rest. I always say, listen to your body. I usually do about a 14-hour fast. We eat very early, but if I'm really hungry right before bedtime, I have this beef protein powder that I use. I'll just mix a little bit of the beef protein powder with blueberries and a little bit of water. Have that. My body's telling me that it needs to eat.
Welcome back to the Dana Grant Show, where I have someone in the house today that not only, we're talking everything women's health, but she's not only an expert in that, she's also a pharmacist. Didn't you write a book, The Fulfilled Pharmacist, or is that your name on Instagram, The Fulfilled Pharmacist?
My name on Instagram, The Fulfilled Pharmacist. I wrote a book with my sister called Tiny Life Changes.
Yeah, Tiny Life Changes. There it is. But I adore this woman. I not only consider her a very close dear friend, but I want you to, I'm going to read about her. I don't normally do that, but she is nationally recognized in not only as a health advocate and a best-selling author, but a pharmacist, not only, like I said, of 37 years. She's been featured in Oprah.com, Prevention, Women's World Daily. We've all read all this. She's so passionate about empowering women. At every age. I have been in front of you while you've spoken. Everything about you is making life easier in this body, this woman's body we live in. And you take the mystery out of it. You've taken this career of being a pharmacist and you've taken the mystery out of, I have so many aha moments following you on Instagram. I'm like, oh, gosh, Lisa, I didn't know that. I didn't know that either. What? I didn't know that. I am now for the first time in my life taking supplements every day, magnesium every day, D3. It's crazy how empowered I feel. Where before I'm overwhelmed. I don't think I can do it. And I used to believe that magnesium gave me a rash everywhere.
Oh, and now you're good. So that's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Now I'm good. Sleeping better, muscle cramps in my legs gone. Thanks to Lisa King. Lisa King, welcome to the Dana Grant Show. Lisa's in the house.
Thank you for having me. And as you shared, we're friends. And I want your audience to know that you are just such a strong supporter of women and a girl's girl, so supportive of your friends. And I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you too. I love your energy. I love how you show up, your heart, all of it. All of it. I'm just so blessed to have you in my life. I'm just going to say that. We're just going to get through with it. And, and the fact that it's taken us a long time because we're both so busy to get you on the show because you're on, I want to say WebMD, but that's that site people go to Google their symptoms. So let's tell people you hang out every day. I know you're on national syndicates. You tape all over the place, giving out incredible advice.
Well, I'm always on Instagram. That's where I hang out. I've just relaunched my YouTube channel, so I'm super excited about that. But I am the voice of Nation Health MD. It's a supplement company, and I do a lot online with them. This morning, I was on the Charlie Kirk show on Real America's Voice. So I love sharing that. All, just everywhere. I honestly am just so passionate about health. If somebody told me you have to stop sharing about this, I don't know if I can because I'm all about healthy aging and disease prevention. That's just my passion. And I want to share that with other women and men too, if they want to listen. But,
well, you know what? A good man out there, the men that are listening is going to listen to this because they can support the women in their life better or they can understand that it's not easy living in this multidimensional body that goes through all these phases. So we're going to start with the phase of menopause.
Well, honestly, I had a hysterectomy when I was 49 and it just hit me by so much surprise. I honestly, even as a pharmacist, a healthcare professional, I had no idea what menopause even was. My doctor told me you're going to have hot flashes and weight gain. And that's what I kind of thought that it was going to be. I wasn't expecting all the rest. And there are some days that I think back on 10 years, because it's been slightly over 10 years since I had the hysterectomy. And I think, gosh, I feel like I was just brought through a war or something, but I'm coming out on the other side, finally figuring it out and feeling really good. But it's really, I feel about listening to your body. I feel like for so many years, I was looking at what's she doing and what's she doing? And I'll listen to this advice. But really, it all came back to just listening to what my body was telling me. And now I'm feeling great.
Yeah, you really give so much of yourself out there every day. You curate and it blows my mind. You are just a wealth of information. I think, and you answer everybody. I love that. I love that you answer all the questions and you ask the right questions too. You're right. At 46, I went through menopause and it was like hitting a brick wall. We talked about this before and sliding down, going to he was a male doctor and just, now suck it up, buttercup. This is, and I did because I was really never one to go to the doctor on anything. I just thought, what's happening? Is something, it just stopped my cycles. And I'm like, am I going through menopause at 46? And I did. It just, but the emotional, hormonal upset that kicked off probably my career now. Because had that not happened, my life not epically fallen apart, which it did, and I had to pick the pieces back up because I wasn't prepared for the emotional storm that came with that. The physical symptoms weren't nearly as bad as the emotional for me. Did you experience that?
Yeah, I did. And it's funny because a lot of women, when you think about menopause, you see these little memes about women yelling and, being really irrational. But for me, it was just the opposite. I felt completely empty inside. And my children are very spread in age. So, 14 years from the oldest to the youngest. So I, still had an early teenager when I was going through all of this, and I was
trying too. Same story. Yeah.
I know you and I are so aligned with the ages of our children, although I have 3 girls and I have 3 boys. But I was driving home and looking out the window driving, and I was like, I literally feel nothing right now. I feel zero emotion. Like I don't even know if I could feel happy if I wanted to. And I was the type of person before who would cry at parades. I mean, I would see a parade and I would cry because I was like, this brings me so much joy. I love parades. Yeah. Honestly, I was talking to a lady the other day. And so menopause, I want to share, the average age is about 51. And so it's going through not having a cycle for 12 months. So many ladies will have that irrational cycle and then they'll be at the 10-month mark and then they'll get their period again and think, oh no, I have to start all over. But perimenopause can start about 10 years before that. So I was talking to a lady the other day and she was in her early 40s and she's like, all of my friends are saying you're too young to be experiencing this. So perimenopause where you can start experiencing those types of symptoms in the early 40s. And these are just average ages. So for some women, it's the late 30s. So you're not too young. And so even for all the ladies who are younger, I really feel like these conversations just open up like what to expect because, as I shared, I just thought, okay, hot flashes, weight gain. I had never had an issue with weight gain. So I just ignored that one. I was like, okay, she doesn't know who she's talking to. I'm not going to have any issues.
I got this under control. I eat healthy. I take care of myself. I exercise. It's all good.
Right. And that one blindsided me. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this is actually happening. And it did. So I think just for women to be aware of this is so helpful.
Yeah. I love that you said that it starts a decade earlier. Preparation. And you know what? The information that's out on women's health now and menopause and perimenopausal and postmenopause, I didn't have, which was what? 15 years ago? Yeah, it just wasn't there.
Right.
And there wasn't, I didn't Google anything. I just took it as the doctor's the authority and I'm being really overly emotional. And then the stories come in. My mom said I was over emotional. I thought I'm just too sensitive. I'm too over emotional. It's got to be something wrong with me. but it
Right.
wasn't, you know?
Exactly. And so that's what when I had my hysterectomy, I don't know why. I literally woke up from the hysterectomy and I thought, now is the time that you need to start taking care of your health. My mom and my sister are both breast cancer survivors. So that was always kind of in the back of my mind, preventing that disease. But what really hit me was when my mother-in-law, was such a strong, powerful woman, got Alzheimer's right about the same time my mom was. I was like, okay, now's the time that you really need to start taking care of your health. And that's one thing that a lot of women don't realize. That's one of the biggest symptoms, not only the fatigue, joint pain, those are kind of unexpected, but that brain fog, forgetting the words. You start thinking, oh my gosh, do I have Alzheimer's? But this is just,
Yeah.
just a part of some of the menopausal symptoms that are out there.
Yeah. Oh no, I know that one all too well. I just say squirrel. I mean, I've been up on stage before and it's like, oh no. If I go off course or do anything random where I'm just I try to come back and I'm like, okay, give me 3 words of what I was talking about. Give me some clues. I play with it now because you know what? And then it's like, oh, I know exactly where I was, but I need some help getting me back there, and it happens, and I think the more we can accept the normality of it without this being, I'm not going to say freak show, but sometimes we just like, oh my gosh. And we're so afraid to be transparent about where we are. And there's no shame in going through this and the grief. I'm going to say the shame, the grief. I think that all of these things, we start going to this different version of ourselves, and there's a grief of the version we were. And I think that it's a silent grief that we don't talk about. I don't think we talk about it.
I agree. And it's so funny because, after I had the weight gain in menopause, I joke about this in my own mind. I think of myself before menopause like I was some kind of tall, blonde goddess. And I'm like, I'm not. I'm completely short. I'm curvy. I'm Italian. But in my mind, I was like, I had no weight issues. I was always energetic. I was this. And then I look at pictures of myself and I'm like, no, I was still struggling with different things then. But when you go through menopause, you reflect back on where you were and you were like, oh my gosh, things were so much easier there. I think, one of the things is, to just appreciate it when you're a bit younger, because I'm not saying it's awful, because I really do feel like this has been the best chapter of my life, but it does take some navigating. It really does. And as you said earlier, supplements are helpful, and dietary changes and lifestyle and all that. So I'd love to talk about all that as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that because, I think, like we said, this is not all doom and gloom. This is a new phase, a new chapter, and we want to help everyone navigate this with being in their full power, not stumbling through. This isn't a time, and I think you would agree, that we have to survive. It's a time that we have to honor. And I'm going to say this, and this is what I found, and this is why I didn't love myself, that perfect body, I didn't know it. I had an eating disorder. I had a million different things, but I'd do anything to go back and have that beautiful, tan, fabulous 2 bikini body. And not that I don't love the 60-year-old body I'm in, because I'm so grateful, because today is the youngest we're ever going to be. And we're only going to continue to evolve. And I just want people to stop the clock, love where they're at. If they can embrace this information, they can 100% receive with love.
Yes. And I do think there is that self-acceptance, because I often think, oh my gosh, the Lisa of 20 years ago would be just like appalled at my weight now. But really for me,
you say that you look phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. But I'll just admit it. I probably had an eating disorder that was not diagnosed. So I was the queen of calorie restriction. I knew the calorie count.
There it is. Yeah, there it is right there.
And you can't eat that way when you're our age. It's all about, building bone, building muscle, and just preventing disease. That's where I'm at.
Protein. Yeah. I mean, and they're as we get older, I was diagnosed with macular degeneration, dry, and they watch it. But I'm going to tell you, my eyes are changing. Now, my mom has wet and it terrifies me, but I'm thinking, all they asked for were extra greens. I mean, there's nothing to prevent it but lifestyle changes. Let's talk about what women can do on, and so I thought I do a lot of greens already, but I'm going to up that. I'm going to up what they recommend, So that being said, how difficult is it to take control back of our health when things are spiraling? A lot of us at this age were calorie restricted. Most of us didn't know we had eating disorders. If I had 130 pounds and I'm tall, I was looking at a picture of you and I the other day, and I'm like, wow, I'm quite a bit taller than her, and I didn't know you were like around 5'5".
No, I'm only 5'2.5".
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, your energy and your vivaciousness seems taller to me. It just seems taller to me because you show up in a lot of power, in a lot of intelligence, knowledge, so much kindness to you. Lisa King, you are just such a beautiful package.
Oh, thank you.
And you show up out there every day working through this complicated system that you make look easy. So where can we start with how we can change our lifestyle? Let's back up. Let's give a scenario.
Okay, what I really am all about is reducing sugar, and that's where I started. And I know a lot of ladies, when I post about this, will say, "Oh, I really struggle with this," or even at the pharmacy when I was working in retail pharmacy, and I would, look in people. I was privy to looking in people's carts because I worked in grocery retail, and would talk to them about, not in a judgmental way, but like, "Oh, have you thought about, incorporating more greens or whatever?" And I see all these pies and different things in their cart, and they're like, "I don't have a sweet tooth." So most people don't even realize what they're eating can be very sugary. So what I always recommend is the American Heart Association recommendation of 25 grams per day of sugar for women and 37.5 for men.
Let's break that down. What does 25 grams look like? Because I know my trauma, and I didn't even know that I was a trauma sugar eater. And I go back to the violin. I used to hop off back when there were school buses, and I'd run into the, little grocery store, and for 25 cents, I would fill where my reeds were, my violin, I would fill that up with candy. And I did that because that was my regulating system. As I practiced all night, I ate that candy. And it's in my book coming out, and it's called The Candy Connection. It wasn't until later in life I drove by. I was going to visit my mom, and I went into the dollar store and I got $30. They said, "Oh, are you having a party?" And I lied and said, "Yes." That candy was there whether I ate it or not, was there to support me. That sugar was there to support my regulating my nervous system. And I blew me away.
And the things that doesn't even have to be candy. So for instance, what I always say is I love yogurt, but if you're not having Greek yogurt, just, your regular yogurts, that's 15 grams of sugar.
You've made me look at everything right now. And I'm like, yes. So what does that look like? The amount of sugar that the Heart Association recommends? What is that? What does it look like that I can have? I certainly can't have a piece of apple pie.
Well, no, I mean, like in the morning, I would have maybe something like Greek yogurt, which is lower in sugar. Don't go for the sugary yogurts. I do have a bit of granola, but I look for more of a keto granola that's got more nuts in it, I guess, than, all the added sugars. Even if it's like maple syrup in there, whatever, the granola could have another 15 grams of sugar. So right there, you're at between the yogurt and granola, you're at your limit. You're over for the day. So, eggs, of course, protein and no sugar, avocado. I am personally gluten and dairy free, but for lunch, a salad, you can put a little olive oil, balsamic vinegar, whatever it may be.
Balsamic has sugar in it. It's why I love it so much. What about fruit? I'm a fruitaholic. Does that count? Does natural sugar?
Yes. I mean, I would really look at that, only because I've talked to even ladies, this is just another tangent, but, who experience a lot of urinary tract infections. And fruit is a natural sugar where, bacteria can thrive with that sugar. So fruits that are lower in sugar are berries. So that's what usually
blueberries. Yeah.
Blueberries, raspberries. I love blueberries.
Yeah. I'm a blueberry-aholic. I probably,
a banana in a smoothie, go for like half the banana, not the full banana. So
I like greenish bananas, which actually have less sugar. And in my reduction of losing a lot of weight from menopause, I started doing green apples. It makes a difference. Green apples have less sugar than red apples. So I got to know because I love fruit so much, watermelons, summertime, but I limit it now where I could sit down and eat a whole watermelon, a whole bag of oranges. I mean, I can get obsessive about fruit, and it's interesting because I think that might be a trauma response too.
Yes. So, I mean, I honestly just say, look at reading labels. And honestly, when I knew that your palate will change very quickly, because I knew this when it was my husband's birthday and a friend had invited us, for dinner, and she served this cake that we love. And I took one bite of it and I thought, oh my gosh, this is too sweet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. And that just recently happened with my husband. We've been really looking at, what we're eating and staying on a really healthy trajectory. And we had this blueberry cobbler that we were going to split. But I was thinking it was going to mostly be blueberries with just a little oat topping. This topping was off the charts. We both took one bite and we're like, I don't think we can eat this. This topping is too sweet. So I would say in a matter of a few weeks, you'll start thinking things are too sweet, and you'll just want to naturally have
I agree with that.
berries and things like that.
So how long does it take? I mean, we jack our taste buds up because we've got too much salt. We need more salt and more sugar. How long does it take to bring the taste buds back into a regulated system to where we're like, yeah, that's way too, I'm right there with you. I experienced that too. I'm like, I used to love cupcakes. It's like, I can't do it. I need things a little bit more bland, definitely less sugar. And so it's absolutely true. How long does it take to deactivate the taste buds?
Well, scientifically, I don't know the exact, but I would say just within a few weeks. It's going to be quick because I know this for a fact with my husband. He's only been really looking at his sugar for, I'd say, about 2 to 3 weeks. Not that he was eating a bunch of candy or anything, but it was just more on his radar as to what he was eating. And he took like one bite of that blueberry cobbler and he was just like, oh no, this isn't happening.
I can't do this. Yeah. I love that. Can you explain things like joint pain, flat mood, poor sleep? What is this all connected to hormones or is it connected to sugar? I know there's no blanket answer, but let's unpack that just a little bit. Because the minute I stopped the sugar for 6 months, no sugar, my huge joint pain that was killing me, gone.
Well, a lot of it, is hormonal, but a lot of it is inflammation. And so that's what I really learned when I had my DNA testing. And I learned that I was gluten and lactose intolerant. So I personally didn't think I had an issue with dairy at all. I was gluten and dairy free quite a few years ago. And then I love yogurt. Like that's my thing, Greek yogurt. So I was starting to eat so much of that, in an effort to increase protein. I was like, okay, here's the Greek yogurt between meals and here's cottage cheese between meals. And I was really starting to gain weight. And, so when I had this testing done, I was like, she's like, even though you're not experiencing GI issues, it's creating so much inflammation in your body. And so when I stopped eating the gluten and the dairy, I released 13 pounds of weight. It was all inflammation. And I can see it in my face immediately. We had a vacation in Santa Barbara like 2 years ago, and I came back from that vacation heavier than I had ever been. And we have a dear friend, and it was her birthday. And I look at pictures of myself at that birthday party, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And I can immediately tell when I'm getting inflamed because I can really see it in my face. My face starts getting puffier. My husband just experienced this as well, like, with his joints. We've been doing so well on not eating processed foods, eating real foods, not just reaching for those protein bars or whatever it may be. And his joint pain has really subsided as well.
Yeah, I'm such an advocate for that Whole Foods. I mean, I grow Whole Foods. Last night I went out to my garden and I thought, what's available to me for dinner tonight? And it was tomatoes, which actually, aren't the greatest for arthritis, which I have a little arthritis. But I did fresh basil, tomatoes, I had eggplant and peppers, and I made my whole dinner out of that and lettuce. Out of the garden, which I really love. I grew up that way. So I think, so what about the people that didn't grow up that way, that they don't know any other way but processed food? They eat out a lot. Now, eating out was I gained almost 90 pounds eating out. And then takeout, because I'm so busy. I'm going to even do healthy takeout, but it's got sodium, sugar. What about that? What about the people that have a lifestyle and they're like, I don't know how to change this? What tips can you give them to change their lifestyle?
Well, honestly, I'm Italian, so I grew up on pasta, but I don't make that anymore. But I wouldn't say we eat out a lot, but we do get takeout. So we have a healthy
Yeah.
grocery store, gourmet grocer nearby.
Yeah.
So I'll usually always have a salad, or I'll make some squash. Tonight I'm making mushrooms with asparagus. I already know I have that. But I'll pick up, a chicken breast or a piece of salmon or something like that that's already
And I know salmon is your favorite food.
I know. And, from the grocery store that's already prepared. So even doing things like that, if you have, what I call, semi homemade, and just really knowing, if you're well stocked, I think that's what really is so important. I think that when
Making it available.
yes, when you're running out the door and you don't have anything that you can really reach for, and so you're grabbing that protein bar, which may have more sugar in it. It could have, I've also look at fillers like guar gum, xanthan gum. Those really cause a lot of inflammation in your body. And even my favorite protein powder had it. So I had to switch protein powders. So just doing all of these things can really really cause that inflammation. But I just say be prepared. I don't know, if you can go to a Whole Foods, a Trader Joe's, whatever it may be, and just really start reading labels. And, not only reading the sugar, but, if you want to go that one step further, then really looking at what type of fillers are in there. Are there a lot of gums or starches, seed oils like canola oil, corn oil? All of these things can be very inflammatory and really exacerbate all of the symptoms in menopause. So that's so important to look at what you're eating.
I love this. For the women that want to do like estrogen, don't want to do estrogen therapy, are there supplements that they can take? I mean, I want to go over all women what your number one supplements are, if there can be a blanket. But let's go back to the menopause. If they don't want to do estrogen therapy, are there supplements they can take that can help them
Yes.
regulate?
There are a lot of different supplements now, and I've shared them on my platform that have phytoestrogen. So they're, somewhat estrogenic. Now, women who had breast cancer, who their doctor said not to use estrogen, I would still suggest, consulting with the doctor on that. But that's another thing that I know even after I studied herbalism, everybody was really saying, you really should go a more natural route. I really wanted to go a more natural route with
Right.
my own menopausal journey, but I honestly, I couldn't do it. One of the things was I just was not sleeping at night. I was having hot flashes. I was up all night long. At the time, I was a pharmacist working 12-hour days. So, between the brain fog, everything else, I was like, I can't be up all night long and work a 12-hour day in the pharmacy. So I honestly just say, there's no badge of honor in doing it naturally. I spoke to my doctor and we came up with a solution that was right for me, as someone who has a very strong history of breast cancer in my family. Interestingly enough, having a family history of breast cancer is not, a deterrent to using estrogen. And so many people think that it is. And I've even listened to a lot of podcasts now where, depending on the type of breast cancer, some women with breast cancer are using estrogen, because estrogen is really important for that brain health, that cardiac health, that bone health.
Hey,
And
that's
so,
freaking me out a little bit because okay, I'm coming clean here. He sent me away a lot of years ago. I did it on my own. My schedule's crazy. It's probably why I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning because I'm awake. But I'm not taking estrogen. What do you think about that? Should I be taking it?
if you're feeling fine, I would
Feels
just talk
right.
to your doctor about it. What I use is a cream. So I just use a smidgen. And I do have some supplements that I really like for women who can't use estrogen. And we could talk about them right now too. But if you are not able to use estrogen, I would highly recommend using an omega-3. So I don't know if you use that or not, because that is really helpful.
I do use omega-3. That is something I incorporated in. I think you might have mentioned that. And then I
Okay.
mean, I am religious with what I take. It's in a little pill box. I fill it up. It's out. I put it out. It's like since I started, I've not missed it. I've always had good energy, but I thought you really taught me something. It was like, even though at this age I'm doing great, I must prepare.
Yes.
because we know nothing is guaranteed. And I've got to build my health and not just, it's like being 30. We feel great. We're like, why don't I do any of that? Same thing at our age. Why don't I, if I feel great, I've got all this energy. What's the deal? But at 60, things change. I, I don't feel it yet, to tell you the truth. I feel like I have an enormous amount of energy. I'm just blessed with energy, but I do wake up through the night anytime, sometimes between 2 and 5 o'clock. I mean, I am the first one up always. But I also meditate at that time, but I built it into my calendar where I start in Zoom and I go across, I go around the world at that time. So I've utilized it that I'm a real morning person. I'm not a night owl and I go to bed very early. So I built that in, but I'm wondering if it wasn't something I needed that was waking me up, because I wasn't that person before. I would not have wanted to get up at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well,
Right.
that I actually had shared about this, and it was funny. I just saw this video this morning. I shared on my Instagram that I had an interview with this lady who's a health coach, and so our cortisol can increase about that time, which is a good thing. We want to have that increase as we're waking up in the morning. But sometimes if you're waking up at that 2 or 3, do you fast before you go to bed? Because sometimes you may need to eat a little something before you go to bed.
Nope. I'm pretty much throughout the day. I eat very light, a lot of protein, smoothies. I don't like to eat heavy, and it'll make me sleepy. But I tend to the end of my day between 2 and 3 will sit, even if I'm sitting here breathing. Boom, I'm asleep. Maybe for 15 minutes, and then boom, I'm awake. And then I notice through the night if I've showered or taken a bath. I love very hot baths with Epsom salt. I notice that boom, I'm asleep for 15 minutes. Boom, I'm awake. It's a very interesting cycle. I think my body's ready to go to bed. I'm fighting it because I don't want to go to bed that early, and I think living alone, that there's not a lot of stimulation or anyone to talk to, but I always go in and make protein for dinner. I, it's crazy. I have a full freezer of meals that I've prepped and prepared with proteins, and I could take them out and have them. So I'm not doing takeout. So I think preparation is key.
Yeah.
And I think that what's really made it that I didn't think was available to me because I've never done it is now I have groceries delivered.
Oh, yeah. No, isn't that so helpful?
Well, I'm a control freak. I like to pick out my own eggplant. I mean, are they going to get the right eggplant? Are they going to pick out this? Do they look at the blueberries upside down? But there's an organic food store and I have that. And it's made my life so much easier because I do believe if it's here, like you said, my mushrooms and asparagus, I know it's for dinner because I've got it. Same thing. I've got it. It's there. But if it's not there, what am I going to do? Well, I would have ordered pizza from a really healthy place. I would have said, you know what? I'll go back to the story. I deserve that. I've worked so hard. That sounds good. And I'm just going to do it for tonight. I've never bought, I co-founded a cauliflower pizza crust.
Yeah.
They have the 4 fresh ingredients. The one everyone loves is a Trader Joe's one. I said, it has sunflower oil in it. It's got flour. It is not it's got like 2% of cauliflower. I don't actually, for the record, I don't know statistically, but ours was 4 fresh ingredients: egg, cheese, cauliflower, and herbs. That's it. Nothing went in that. And, so I think about that now. Where was I? See, here's my brain. Where was I going with that, Lisa? Yeah, where was I going with that? But the fact is, I just bought an Amy's pizza because someone said it was delicious. She's very healthy, eats tons of greens, a very good friend. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll put that in my freezer. So when I want to order a takeout pizza, this is and it's small. It's way too big still, but I thought I could get 2 meals out of that. And it's a vegetarian one. And I thought I could add a little more greens on it or something. Some arugula, and make it like a salad, but I haven't looked. I'm going to go look and see what's in that. But it's better than ordering the pizza I want to order, which I love the crust because it's a honey crust and I'm sure it's like loaded. It's not even probably crust. It's probably just puffed sugar.
Well, and honestly, it's all about making those tiny changes and those tiny choices. I really feel that it adds up. But, it's funny, just due to the DNA testing, I'm the same way. My mom has always said it, even since I was a little girl. I am up like at the break of dawn. Like if the sun's even slightly coming into the sky, I'm awake. But I do start falling asleep really early at night.
Yeah.
And, interestingly enough, she said that was partly because my liver detox pathways aren't really all that they should be. And so as my body is detoxing at night, it's like really like making me super tired. So I same thing, like start like kind of wanting to doze off at like 9:30. But what I wanted to talk about was, if you're waking up and you're having that increase in cortisol. So many women now I see, intermittent fasting is so popular, and it's
Oh, yeah.
16 hours of not eating and 8 hours of eating. But that's not right for everyone.
No.
I actually did this 5-day mimicking fasting diet. That was like horrible for me. I was having such bad heart palpitations.
Yeah.
I know now it increased cortisol so much. But whenever you push yourself, let's say you're exercising at night and you're really exhausted, you'd rather rest. You're having too long of a fasting window, because I see women who they're like, okay, I'm not losing weight with doing a 16-hour fast. Let's go to 18. Let's go to 20. Let's go down to the 1 meal a day. They call it OMAD, 1 meal a day. And they're still not really having results because you're increasing cortisol. So your body does need that rest. I always say, listen to your body. I usually do about a 14-hour fast. We eat very early, but if I'm really hungry right before bedtime, I have this beef protein powder that I use. I'll just mix a little bit of the beef protein powder with blueberries and a little bit of water. Have that. My body's telling me that it needs to eat. And so
Let's talk about that. Listening to the body.
yeah.
I do fast most of the day, and people are like, you need more, but you need to eat more in the daytime. I don't need it. And I'm not, it's not even about training not to be hungry. I do the protein shake mid-morning. Tons of water all day long. I'm a huge water advocate. And then I start adding in protein at the end of the day. Am I blowing it completely? But I'm listening to my body and what it needs. I tend to want sugar after I eat. That's where I'll do some watermelon or something. Not a sugar-free popsicle, those fudgesicles that are 100 calories, really low in sugar, just something. So sugar-free Jell-O, I really love, with sugar-free whipping cream by Land O'Lakes. I love, a little plug for them. That's really satisfying, but I like that. Is that telling me something about my system, or?
Well, no, I feel the same way. I have a little bit of dark chocolate. So what I usually look at is, I'll do like a little bit of blueberries with like a little bit of coconut whipped cream, maybe, or just a little bit of the keto granola. I would take a look at those things like the Jell-O, things like that, because there's probably a lot of fillers in there, I'm assuming.
Well, I usually make it myself. It's sugar-free Jell-O and just gelatin. But, it does unfortunately have dyes in it, which, I can be very sensitive to. I think, there's no right or wrong way to do it. But I think listening, and what I hear from you saying, is that we have to listen. We have to see when we're hungry. And, sometimes there are if I know that I fall asleep in the evening and I wake up and I want cheese, apples, and I am lit, or caramel and and I'm just like inhaling it, that is a preceptor to a migraine.
Yeah.
If I'm wanting to eat a lot at night and I just am like an elephant and I can't get enough in, it doesn't happen very often anymore, but I was a migraineur for years and I know you suffer from them. Yes. I can tell you my rhythm of eating changes, what my body, and it's always like, did I see any scotoma today? Do I have any light differences? But that will always let me know. I'll fall asleep and I'll wake up and I'll want apples, cheese, lots of dairy, tons of cheese. I mean, it's like, I can't even believe I'm going to eat that much, but I do. And I wipe it out pretty quickly and I'm like, uh-oh. And then I say, nope, not up. No, there's no up-oh here. No up-oh here. It's no uh-oh here. It's about, uh-oh, I listened. I did it. Now let's lean into it, get a good night's sleep, and let's visualize waking up well. And it usually works.
Yes, because I know, a migraine headache is just.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting. I saw this post the other day with someone who's kind of a health coach, and she was in her post drinking a Diet Coke. And I had and it's funny because I follow another lady who leads a very healthy lifestyle, but will admit that she drinks Diet Coke. And so, we all have our things. And so I would personally never drink a Diet Coke, but some people may never have a little bit of chocolate right after.
Well, the Diet Cokes for me, I would never do an artificial anything or a nitrate because I've had migraines. So I've years since I was 27. I just don't incorporate that in. There isn't any of that. That is part of my system that I would do. But I know you're right. A lot of women that do a lot of Diet Coke, and I'm just not a soda drinker. I'm an either iced tea or water, and I like black coffee a little bit, and everything in limitation. But you're right. There's sometimes when I go out, I love root beer with pizza. Sometimes a half a glass. Or when we were in San Diego, I'm like, I'm gonna have it was like I'm gonna have a 7-Up with tons of lime, and I squeezed all those lime and tons of ice, and I had an idea in my mind and it was delicious. I didn't finish it, but I loved the fact that we do have the freedom to do these things and to honor. But sometimes the treat can be extra special because we're like, it's like having creme brulee every day. It might not be special.
And that's the thing, you have to really look at, party food is for parties, or, when you're saying everything in moderation, but is your moderation really, every day? So you have to really.
Is your moderation one of those pints? How did I gain the weight? I did one of those Haagen-Dazs, and I would take it to my room and I would watch TV, and I don't know if it was lazy, but I'm like, I'm not going to, I'm just going to eat the whole thing. Mm-hmm. Because I don't want to get back up and put it in the freezer. I mean, I was going through something very, very deep and emotional, but that's how it showed up. And I look at the pictures now, my eyes were almost swollen shut every morning. I mean, my face was blown up. My hands were like stiff. I mean, and I'm like, what's wrong? It's all day. Nope, it was sugar. But right. Sugar, I didn't even want it. It was just a habit. And I'm like, I better eat that because this is what you do. And time for the ice cream. So how can we break the programs and listen to our body? And how do we work through that bridge of
I really think having that really strong why as to why you want to do it, I think is really so important, because I was the same way. I was what I called a nighttime nibbler. I would just start eating cookies at night. I didn't even know why. Yeah. But I knew that when my mother-in-law started developing Alzheimer's, that fasting and giving your brain a rest at night, not eating after dinner, at least 3 hours before bedtime, was a really great way to reduce amyloid protein, rejuvenate your cells. And so just thinking like, okay, do I really want this? And now if I do really want something, it's not going to be that cookie. It's going to be that little bit of the beef protein with the blueberries. So I really think having that strong why. And I've even had people ask, how do I know my supplements are really working? And sometimes, you don't really know. There really isn't a big transformation, like you're feeling more energy or this or that, but you just have to trust that this is working for you. And in the future, your future self will thank you. And so that what I had shared earlier, for women who can't use estrogen, going back to that.
Yeah.
The omega-3s, I think, are so important for brain health, cardiac health, the vitamin D3 for bone health. And then another thing, I know a lot of women will see really thinning hair. Their skin doesn't look as great. Collagen, I really like too.
I do collagen every day because of you now. I never even considered I would be so devoted to this. And I'm like, my hair's great now, but what happens when, I mean, you
do have beautiful hair. My hair is very thin compared to what it was, even 6-7 years ago. I used to almost have to have my hair thinned. It was so thick.
Because it's still pretty thick.
Yeah, that's what my hairdresser always says. It's still pretty thick, but it was overly thick. It was very thick. And so I just think that incorporating, I think what's so very important is looking at sugar. If you're going to take that next step, looking at the fillers and trying to remove those processed foods, really eating the healthier choices like you suggested. I wish I could have a garden, but I'm in Arizona. I can't really even grow anything really. I bet if it was not hot, I wouldn't be growing it. But, moving our body, incorporating those weight-bearing exercises, sleep is so overlooked, but just so very important.
I was just going to ask you, what is something practical? They don't have to go out and get a nutritionist. They don't, and you could find, the Fulfilled Pharmacist on, here's a plug because I'm going to tell you she's changed my life. Not only the friendship, but her information is so digestible. No pun intended. But let's give some tips like you were just doing. Let's back up and do it again on what they can do now. It's not going to cost anything. And there's no blow it. You can still honor, the next day is a new day. It's a new day.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't beat yourself up.
Yes, that's the really great thing. Like,
Yeah.
even if you have that cookie, whatever it is, you can start right over. That doesn't mean that you're gonna
Yeah.
have cookies every single day. Yeah. So honestly, reading labels. I would honestly start by reading. Literally shocked at how much sugar is in even the foods that you think are healthy.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about that little bit of sugar and ketchup, but even, protein bars, granola, yogurt, that type of thing. The next step would be looking at the gums and fillers and
That'd be step 2, gums and
seed oils. I eat pumpkin seeds all of the time, and I was shocked. The pumpkin seeds I got at my grocery store every week, I was like, okay, I think these are pumpkin seeds. Then I look at the label and it says that they're roasted in canola oil. And I was like, what the heck? So here I am, saying don't have canola oil, and my pumpkin seeds have canola oil. But
knowledge is power. But no, and let's face it, sugars make everything taste better. My sauces, I used to add sugar to make them taste better. Now I add a little bit of vinegar. A little balsamic to, it's crazy. This is why we like it. And our taste buds get jacked up. Okay, I'm not going to interrupt. Go. That's the next one. Look at the oils.
Yes. So that would be the dietary things. I would honestly say movement, whatever it is, weight bearing exercise. I'm not a big exercise girl. I was never athletic, anything like that, but I am, a weighted vest. Even if you're going to just continue with your walks, a weighted vest can be your best friend. Oh, so many women are using them now.
Well, I'm using one now because she recommended it and I love it. Yes. It's amazing when I take it off. I feel like Tinkerbell, like I'm flying. It's amazing. It's only 10 pounds that I'm carrying, but it's changing everything. It's my core. And you recommended it. Yeah.
And sleep, honestly, if you're tired, go to sleep. I would see this all the time. I use a device, or had used a device called a Lumen, where you breathe in and it measures your metabolism. So I'm the type of person like, okay, if I say I'm going to do 10,000 steps, even if I'm exhausted at night, I'm going to do those extra 10,000. And I would go from fat burn into carb burn. So it was really, my body was producing that cortisol again. And as we talked about earlier, the longer fasting periods may not really be right for you. I highly recommend the DNA testing.
Yeah, you've mentioned that about is there anything you recommend, or a DNA testing that you recommend that we can put in the links?
I can give you a link. I'll send it to you. But mine is with, I did it with a lady named Juliana Lehman from Naturally Joyous. She has a master's degree in nutrition and also a degree in genetics. So it was life-changing because honestly, as I shared earlier, I was always good at losing weight. And people were telling me like, oh, you're probably nibbling too much. You're not eating enough. You're eating too much. You're not exercising hard enough. And honestly, even like my doctor, I would think that she was looking at me kind of like, oh, really? You're really trying as hard as you can because you're probably sneaking cookies or something. And honestly, I have a lot of self-discipline, and it was all the yogurt because at the time I was counting macros. I don't know if you've ever done that, but counting protein, carbohydrates, and fat. And I was told I needed 120 grams of protein a day. And I was eating so much to try to get to that protein goal. Yeah. And I knew I was overeating. I knew it. I was like, okay, this is what they told me to do.
But I'm doing it. I heard that it's the average woman diets a minimum of 25 times up to 50 times in our lifetime. We try programs and this and that. And I want to say that I think you listen and I love that you incorporate things. And you're like, this works, this doesn't. This works, this doesn't. And, I love that. And I love it. I love the fact it's science-backed because you are very scientific in your research.
Yes. And so I really do think that the DNA testing also just allowed me to be very kind to myself because I sometimes not in a comparison in a good way or bad way, but you're just always kind of thinking like, okay, well, here's my friend who's also, in her early 60s, but she's so muscular. And why can't I gain muscle? I feel like I'm doing everything right. And I learned, just because I'm very estrogenic, I'm very curvy. And my DNA is just very slow to lose weight and it's very slow to gain muscle. It's just the way I'm built.
I'm dying to get that DNA. I'm doing it immediately. I have not done that either. You have really awakened me to not only the possibilities of having better health after 60 that I never considered, but building where I am, and knowledge is power.
Yes.
And just like that, I'm like, I didn't consider that. You know, it's you're a plethora of information. You just are, not just tiny changes in the day-to-day changes. You're a deep researcher. I'm a deep dive in my work. You are a deep researcher. You don't back things unless you've got some proof and some evidence, and you put yourself through an amazing process. I mean, I love the fact I'm doing it. I'm taking it on. I'm not getting any results after this period of time. You're your own research.
Yes. Well, I think that's just the scientist in me. But somebody said to me once, "You take your disease prevention very seriously," and I'm like, "I do. I take that as a big compliment. I really do."
Yeah. Well, you've seen it all. Being a pharmacist for 37 years, you watch people walk up to that window. You look at their prescriptions, what they're leaning into, what they need, what they don't. And I think there must be something that says we can do better.
Yes,
As women, we could do better.
and honestly, I feel like I'm really blessed in our Instagram community and the community of women that follow me. That women are really open to making those changes. I remember going to like a little exercise class. So this was years ago. And there was a girl who's probably, in her early 30s there. Her mom might have been in her early 50s. And the mom was like, "I can't believe you're making me exercise. I'm too old to exercise." And I'm thinking, no, you're still young. And I would have these little older ladies come into the pharmacy with bright red lipstick on. And one of them would still be taking classes at ASU. One of them volunteered and made little dresses to send to Africa. The other one, is taking swimming class. And I'm like, that is what I want to be like when I'm 90. And I'm going to do everything I can in my power to be one of those ladies in my early 90s.
What is it? I love that. What does it take to get ourselves from maybe a complacent position where, I grew up so organic and so there just wasn't a lot incorporated in. I think my mindset, and I think for years I starved myself because I just couldn't get over this weight. And then it just boom, and then it started doing this. And now I'm in this steady place. What is there any blanket statements you can offer that can maybe let me rephrase the question, that help women to be more compassionate? There was something you say. What does it mean to age well with compassion? What does that mean?
Honestly, I just think being kind to yourself, listening to your body and giving yourself grace. And it's those tiny changes, taking it one step and one day at a time. I didn't do all of this at once. This is, as I shared, been a 10-year journey. And I just keep incorporating different things and learning different things. And this is a stage of life where we honestly don't have children to rear anymore. Maybe we do have older parents. There's a lot of different things going on, but this is really a time where we can concentrate on ourselves and take care of ourselves. So I feel like that's something that really can be celebrated and, just make the most of this chapter of life.
Yeah. Well, let's face it. There are a lot of women that need this because your community is thriving.
Yes.
I watch the interactions. I watch the information, the hunger, the questions. And it lights me up because I learn something all the time. And I don't try everything, but I'm like, I'm going to try that. I'm going to do that. And I think I listen to my body, and usually energetically, things will light me up. It'll be like, oh, I like that. Let's take that on. You can do that one thing today. Let's add that on instead of taking it all on, which the pendulum does swing like that for women. We want to do it all. We want to fix it now. Let's fix all these years of not doing it right. And I love the fact that you really stress, be kind, be compassionate to your body. And do they need to focus on an end goal, or do they need a blueprint, or can they just, I'm not going to say muddle through, but how can they gather what they need and meet themselves? Because we're all at different places where they're at. There's no one way fits all here.
No, honestly, I just started listening to different podcasts, speak to your doctor. I think, as we said, do what's right for you. I like the science nerdy girl type of podcast that's going to really share health information. if there's a lady who just is sharing healthy recipes, new vegetable recipes that you can incorporate with your chicken, follow her. You know, do what works for you, but just make one change. You know, I just think to yourself, what is one thing that we can do today? You know, maybe drink more water, maybe take an extra 2,000 steps, not an extra 10,000 steps, and just keep adding on. And then honestly, I really truly feel that you get that inner confidence. I really feel that when you're taking care of your health, you just start feeling more vibrant. You start feeling more confident. And so that leads to other things that may mean, you know, taking a new class, meeting new people, starting a new business. And it all started with the glass of water. But I honestly, truly believe that.
I absolutely believe that. It just adds to that empowerment. I also believe in the community of women coming together because there's so much information out there. I mean, you've changed my life just in your community. I mean, I seek it out because I mean, you're a researcher and you're constantly sharing new things. I'm not going to use it all, but I'm always intrigued by it. And everything speaks to so many. So I love that. Do you have a favorite podcast or is it just seek out something and listen to something, and if it vibes and you
Well, I'll give a shout out to Dr. Stephanie Estima, her Better podcast, very science based. It may not be for everyone, and she'll always admit the same thing, that she's like a nerdy science girl. But I love that. Like the more science in there, the better. So I will give that a little bit of a shout out right there.
I love that. You know, everybody, where can they find you? Where's your hub? Where's your hangout? Where are you going to? I mean, I know, but and what's coming up for you? I know you speak. I know you're on shows. Let's like give them the view of where they can find you in this information.
Well, mostly find me on Instagram at The Fulfilled Pharmacist. I just rehauled my website, thefulfilledpharmacist.com, where I also have a free gift, a 7-day reset to feel lighter, clearer, and more grounded in 7 days. And it's just what we talked about. I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do. You're going to just tune into your own body and, okay, I just ate this. How do I feel? You know, can I walk a little bit more? Can I go to bed a little bit earlier? So this is feeling better in 7 days, and just relaunched my YouTube channel. So I'd love for you to follow me there. And I have...
Is it The Fulfilled Pharmacist on YouTube too? The Fulfilled Pharmacist.
Everything is The Fulfilled Pharmacist. So yes,
give her a follow there.
All coming up. Follow me there. I have a Zoom call coming up with our friend Doreen. We're going to be sharing all aspects of menopause. You'll see information on my Instagram.
I love that. I love that. Lisa, you are, you know, that it just seems like the word is too small, a plethora of information. You know so much. We could have gone much deeper, but I think women just want to know that these micro changes, this, you know, we don't have to go macro. We can go micro, just one thing, incorporate it. And that's what I've done. I mean, I am living proof that incorporating those things, I had muscle cramps that were waking me up so bad in my legs at night. They were actually twisting and my foot was twisting. And I thought, I'm drinking plenty of water. I mean, what's going on? And it was the magnesium that I started taking.
I love magnesium. Let's just give a little shout out for the magnesium. And if you're in the middle of the night, because I get up a lot to use the restroom, smell some lavender. I've had people at the pharmacy think I was seriously crazy. Like, okay, you're my pharmacist. You're telling me to sniff lavender oil?
No.
Lavender, you'll fall right back to sleep.
Oh, I love that. And then the daytime, I'm going to give another plug that if I keep rosemary, I grow it. I keep rosemary on my desk right here and I break it and I sniff it and it wakes the brain back up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, rosemary. I mean, I love herbs. I love natural remedies. Okay, I know I've kept you too long, but I mean, we could go on and on and on because there's so much to know. But what in your life, because I got to ask this, what in your life feels like love right now?
Oh my gosh. I feel, I don't know, my whole life, I just had this overcoming feeling of love when you said that. But yeah, I'm just blessed. I just feel so blessed. My family, my sharing through my platform, The Fulfilled Pharmacist, I really honestly just feel so, so blessed right now.
You know, you are another example, and I'm just going to say this, of someone who's had a long-term professional career and expanded it just by wanting to share and make women's lives better. And you just have created this, you've morphed into this huge platform where it just shows the need, the want of what women, they're hungry for. I don't think we're so hungry for sugar as we are hungry for information on, well, what do I do instead? Well, what can I take? Yeah.
Yes.
Community. Yeah. Connection and community. Lisa King in the house. I adore you. I love you. Thank you for showing up and sharing so much great stuff. And yeah, I have the privilege of getting to see you next month. I can't wait. And hey, we're going to have all the links, all her information, the 7-day reset. I know I downloaded that already. Yep, go find her. She hangs out on Instagram. It is a huge community, not just your information, but the women that show up. Love them too. I've made many, connections through. I mean, it's just a great place to be. I don't think social media gets enough kudos for the fact it's created communities where we can come together and learn more about where we are. And it's just
And meeting the most wonderful women, just like yourself.
yeah. I mean, yeah, we should give that a plug that we met on social media, had some weird overlaps, and we just decided to have dinner one day when I was in, Arizona, and it just worked. It just boom, and then boom, 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 boom. And now we're just like, now I'm flying into Arizona all the time to see you.
I'm glad you are.
I adore you. All right. Lisa King in the house. Go find her, the Fulfilled the Pharmacist. Thank you for showing up today and just sharing so much information. I appreciate you. Bye for now, everyone.